The 128th Innovation Capital Group has been meeting monthly for over 32 years, with a mission of educating entrepreneurs about angel and venture capital investment and facilitating connections through formal networking. Over the years, we have been impressed with the enthusiasm and brilliance of so many of the entrepreneurs we've met. This program is designed to highlight their great ideas and their companies. Welcome to Focus on Innovation.
When I began running the 128 Innovation Capital Group 10 years ago, I was aware of the large number of young, vibrant companies in this area. When we began the Piranha Pond pitch parties about 3 years ago, even more of those companies came to the fore asking to present their ideas and their companies to our panels of investors. Focus on Innovation is designed to highlight some of those companies. However, although they may at some point be looking to raise capital, their presentations here are not a solicitation of funds and they're not asking anybody to invest in their companies. Our first company, Meet Caregivers, will highlight Florence Faraha, who is the founder, and Debbie Kenny, who is the operations manager. They have a very interesting story to tell. I hope you will enjoy it. I've been following your company for a while through the 128 group, but also through the Merrimack Valley Sandbox. And tell me about your idea for this, Florence.
So how it started?
Yeah.
So the idea came to me when I was in college. I was doing my MBA at Babson, and I was working part-time as a caregiver so that I can be able to afford to pay rent. And then one of the issues that I realized that many families had was to find the right caregivers. Many of them really didn't want to hire an agency because it was too expensive. But at the same time, it was really too time-consuming for them to go ahead and try to find somebody by themselves because they really didn't have the tools, so they don't really know who's the right person to care for mom and dad. And many of them actually live outside of the state, so far away from their parents. So during that time, YouTube was becoming very popular. So that's why I saw, why don't we try to maybe mix the use of video technology and then screen caregivers and just create a platform that can make it easy for family to find the right person right away in a safer environment than if they go and try to find people through Craigslist. That's really how the idea started.
When did you actually start the company?
From the idea, I've been thinking about the company about 3 years ago when I got my MBA, but I technically started the company about a year ago.
What did you do next?
What I did next, it took me some time, like I said, to really go from the idea and then really decide to do something about the idea. After my MBA, I got a job at Bank of America for a while, and then I realized that I really didn't like to be there. I felt like I really wanted to start something of my own. That's how I really decided to really focus and try to form a team and see how we can really build the business from the idea that I had.
So who's on your team?
So right now we have Debbie.
Yes.
Debbie, who is our chief operating officer, so she handles all the operation, and she works with families to handle the payroll of the caregivers and all of that. And we also now just got a technical co-founder, Tapas. We're excited. It took us some time to find the right person, but he's not part of our group. And then we also have Rita, who helps us with the recruiting of the caregivers. And then we have Arkady, who helps us with the videos editing and all of that. So we're about, I would say four team members. Yes.
So how does it work? Let's say I'm looking for somebody to help take care of my mother, who needs more care than I can give her. How do you help me?
So basically what we do on our platform, contrary to anything else out there, we pre-screen all the caregivers ahead of time. So we do a background check, we check the certification, make sure that they have the right qualification to work with seniors, and then after that they go ahead and do a video profile before we post the video profile, they go through all the screening processes. So when a family is ready to look for caregivers, they don't have to worry about screening the caregivers and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So they can just go to our website, search for caregivers who live around the area, and then video profile will come up. So they can watch the video profile where the caregivers are introducing themselves for less than 3 minutes, talking about their experience, their availability, their character, so that families who are looking for caregivers have a little bit better sense of who are those people instead of just meeting strangers that they have no idea who they are. And then once they see somebody that they like, they call our main phone number, we go ahead, we set up an interview with them, and that's how it works.
Okay. How does the caregiver get paid?
You handle the payroll, so you can go ahead and explain that.
Well, usually the way it works is we set our clients up as the employer of the caregiver, and we set them up on a payroll processing service, a third party. We help them get everything they need in order to do that. And then they pay the caregivers through this payroll service. They give us the hours, we process it for them, so the money automatically goes from the client to the caregiver at that time. So that's how they're paid. We do have a few clients we've been working with where we're actually taking on the role of employer on their behalf. And so in that case, they're paying us and we're paying the caregivers directly, depending on what works better for
the
them.
families.
Okay. How do you make money?
So what we do is we charge a service fee on top of the caregiver's wages. So the caregivers say how much they believe their services are worth, which could be really anywhere from $10 to $20 an hour, but typically would be maybe around $14, $15 an hour in there somewhere. And when the family chooses a caregiver, they know how much the caregiver's rates are. It can be negotiable depending on the number of hours needed, the schedule, those kinds of things, and we facilitate that process if necessary. And then we charge our service fee on top of that caregiver rate. It's a 20% fee. So it actually comes out to be much less expensive, up to about half the cost of a full service agency, but much safer with a lot more support than if you were just hiring directly on your own.
Okay. Talk to me about your competition.
So the other, we can consider Craigslist as a competition because many families, who really don't want to hire a full service agency, go on Craigslist and post ads, and then they receive multiple resumes of people, and they kind of go through the screening process. So the way we differentiate ourselves from Craigslist is telling family, instead of going on Craigslist and really find people that you have no idea who they are, why don't you use Meet Caregivers where you know that the caregivers are pre-screened ahead of time, and then it saves you time and money, and then you have the right support after you hire the caregivers.
And there's support in terms of insurance, which you wouldn't necessarily have hiring directly on the payroll, the tax reporting, all those things we're helping them with. So it's much safer than if they do that, just post a job and hire directly route.
Yeah.
But then in terms of the agencies can be a great option, but they're very expensive. Typically maybe at least $25 an hour on average, and there's not a lot of insurance that pays for personal care services, unless you're lucky enough to have a long-term care insurance policy or something like that. So for any kind of extended care, families are paying out of pocket. The seniors are paying out of their retirement savings. So that can make a really big difference if you're paying $25 an hour, or if you're able to use a service, our service, and pay maybe more like $17, $18 an hour. That extends how long you can have this care or how many hours you can have, quite a bit. The other difference that's really interesting is that when you use a full service agency, you typically don't have a lot of control over who your caregiver is. You engage with the agency, and the agency is sending in the people that work for their schedule. And for many seniors, this becomes very unsettling for them because they don't know if this person's the right fit for them. And also the agencies often, it depends on the agency, but they often tend to change the caregiver pretty frequently due to scheduling issues, turnover, and things like that. So a lot of families feel that that's not enough control over what they want to have for this kind of very personal care when you're getting help with showering, toileting, feeding, these kinds of things. So that's one of the reasons that families choose to hire directly, or to have, or want to have that choice and be able to watch the videos and see, this is somebody I think I'd like, this person maybe wouldn't work for me. So they get more control that way, and it makes a big difference.
Do you have any other online type competition?
I mean, right now, I would say, Care.com could be considered as a competitor. Many people tell us that. But again, Care.com really have many different categories that they have on their website. So they don't just do senior care, they do babysitting, they do pet sitters, and then at the same time, one of the biggest differentiation that we tell people between us and Care.com is the fact that we pre-screen all our caregivers ahead of time, so they are pre-vetted, and then at the same time, we also have the video profiling to really kind of make that connection to facilitate the search when families are looking to find the right person for their loved one. So, yeah.
So where do you, you're a new company, you're a baby company right now.
Yeah.
We are.
Do you have any customers? Do you have any clients?
Yes, we're starting getting clients around Newton, Cambridge, Boston, mostly around the Metro West area. They're giving us feedback, and we're getting better from their feedback, and then we are actually excited about that, so that's good.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I mean, we really, our goal is really to be national. We want to have a platform where a family from anywhere in US will be able to find caregivers. So even if you're in DC and then your parents live in Massachusetts, you can go on the website and find caregivers in Massachusetts. And if you're in Massachusetts, your parents live in New York or in Texas, you'll be able to go to a platform, watch video profile of caregivers, and hire a caregiver for your loved one. So we want to go national.
Okay, a few minutes left. What do you want to tell me and the audience?
That's a difficult question.
I've kind of poked and probed over. Is it worthwhile? I know you both put in tremendous hours. A startup is not a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, take your weekends off and take 4 weeks vacation every year.
I mean, for me, I think for David too, at least for everybody who's in our team, I mean, as of right now, we're not getting paid, we're not paying ourselves. We're paying the caregivers who are working for the families. So we're really doing it because we're passionate about what we're building, and we know that it's going to have a big impact in society in general. And then when you do something that you really love, you don't really realize like how much you're putting into. Compared to going to a 9 to 5 job that you really don't like. I mean, I went through it. I worked for a corporation for a while, and I mean, 9 to 5 was just really bad. I hated it. But with startups, it's not easy, like we said, which is true. It's a lot of work, a lot of commitment, and a lot of sacrifices. But at the end of the day, it's worth it because you're doing what you love, and then you want to impact the world.
And I think every day, as we sign on new customers and we meet new families that are struggling with these issues, I think it increases our commitment to what we're doing, because we're hearing their stories, and we're hearing that they're very limited in what they can pay, or they didn't get what they wanted from an agency, or they feel very uncomfortable. We talked to one of our newest client that we just signed up. She did put an ad on Craigslist looking for a caregiver, and she was overwhelmed with the number of resumes, responses, phone calls that she got, and how to screen them and what to do with them. And we reached out to her and said, we think you're feeling overwhelmed.
Can we help?
Can we help? And she said, yes, please. And was pleased with the service, and we're helping her and her husband, who's the one who needs the care. So I think what we would want people to know about us is that, we're not doing what other people are doing. We're not doing what Care.com is doing or Craigslist is doing. We're not doing what the agencies are doing. We're doing something new. And it's hard for some people to hear that. They're uncomfortable with it. They don't understand it. But the families understand it. That are looking at these issues. And so if we can make that available to them, I think we'll really be doing something to help them, which is what's important.
Our second company today features Richard Minnie. He has a lot of experience in enterprise software, and he and his colleagues have developed what could be perceived as an old type of product, but with a new way. And I think you'll find his story just as interesting as the last one we saw. I want you to tell me in just a few minutes about your company and your product.
Got it. So IBE is time and billing for consulting firms. It's cloud software for businesses to run their businesses from the cloud. It's designed for small and medium-sized consulting firms, so people that help other firms get paid for their services, and it's designed to do their time, their expenses, their projects, their clients, their people, and to do the billing.
Okay, now I met you when you applied to pitch for the Piranha Pond.
Yes.
Okay, and we're looking for innovative companies. Let me play the advocate here, the devil's advocate
Sure.
here. Okay, time and billing, I remember 25 years ago, 30 years ago, I had a program called Time Slips
Yes.
that did this.
It's
Why?
still around as well.
I have no doubt.
Yes.
It was a good workhorse of a product there. What is
What's
so
different?
different? Yeah.
So interesting enough, you touch on a good point. A lot of the software that's available that's fairly broad in its application is very old. And that includes people that like to invest in NetSuite. It's extremely old. It's 10, 20-year-old technology. SAP, Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics, Deltek. A lot of the packages that are available for consulting firms are 10, 20 years old. And that means they're very expensive. They're very hard to change, very hard to implement, and they're hard to use as well. What's happened with the consumerization of apps is that people expect much easier to use applications. People expect them to be on the cloud. They can just dial in from anywhere, connect from anywhere. They expect them to be on their phones. And these applications haven't caught up. So we've come in with a brand new application for doing a similar thing, functionality-wise, but a much nicer package, much nicer usability, much cheaper, fraction of the cost.
Okay, you say easier to use. Don't I just put my time in and the date and who gets charged for it? Or
Yes.
tell me why your customers say it's
So
easier to use.
most consultants hate putting in their time. All consultants
Of course we do.
all consultants hate putting in expenses.
It's not billable time.
Yeah, exactly. It's non-billable. You can do it if you can do it on the flight when you're offline. It takes 3 seconds. That's easy to use. If it proposes a task right away, you can put the time in however you want. You can start, stop, do a timer. You can import it from various options. It makes it easier. Same with expenses as well. You can put your credit card in the system, and it'll download all the transaction history. You take pictures of the receipt. It'll match the receipt to the credit card transaction, and then it'll submit the expense. So it makes it much more efficient for the consultant. They still won't like it. They'll still make excuses, but then we've got reminders as well to send that automatically come out. So there's ways to make it more effective. And of course, if you're running the consulting firm, time is money. You know, every minute, every hour, every day you miss, potentially you miss the bottom line. If you make a mistake on your billing, if it's in the customer's favor, they keep quiet, they're happy. If it's against them, you have a bad customer situation. So getting it done quickly and getting it done accurately is key for the success of the business.
Okay, how long has the company been in business?
So we started in 2011. So we founded the company 3 years ago. We took about a year to build the initial kind of beta release. We took about 8 months in beta with a few clients. So we released the product just over a year ago. And since then we've been growing steadily, bringing on board 2 to 3 clients every month and gradually building up the product set and building out functionality.
Tell me about your ideal client. If you could describe or build a company that would be perfect.
Yes,
For
indeed.
you.
Yes, very good, because we've spent time refining this. So our ideal client is 50 to 250 consultants. So it's not the smallest company. We're not a FreshBooks, we're not a free agent, we're not a Ronin. Those are the sort of apps that would be for your 2-3 person business. So there'd be 25 to 250, 500 consultants, that range. There'd be a time-based business. We do fixed price, we do retainer, we do performance contracts, we do all types of contracts, but T&M and that type of business, you know, time-based business. And people with, you know, if they have requirements like approval paths, reporting, invoice layouts, specific forms, specific timesheet periods, maybe overtime, maybe they want to calculate pay, they've got a lot of contractors who are being invoiced. That is good for us because we are very broad in what we can do. So our ideal client is someone, with about 50 plus consultants, and they need to bill for their time.
And how big is the company?
Company's about 30 people. So a lot of the development is in India. We have it all in-sourced. It's all people we've worked with for many years, all in full-time employees. And it's split between the US and India with one sales agent in the UK.
Now, the last time we spoke, you mentioned you have customers around the world?
Yes, indeed. English speaking, it is multilingual, multi-currency, multi-country, but it's not translated. So our main customers in the US, Canada, UK, Australia, and South Africa. South Africa seems very popular at the moment.
Yes, I would imagine so. You did mention it was cloud-based?
Yes, it is. So they can find us online, and they just South Africa and Australia, they're just very quick moving. They're very responsive.
Okay. You say you have getting new customers every few months. Now, when we spoke at the Piranha Pond, the reason people come to pitch is that they want to speak to investors, and they're looking for maybe good counsel, but definitely money.
Yes.
Now, I've said at the beginning of this show, I'll keep saying it again, this is not a solicitation. You're not asking our audience to write you a check.
No, of course not. That's right, it's a long process.
Yeah.
So we're still in the process of fundraising. We're at that stage where we're kind of beyond the angels and friends and family. Obviously, we're still talking, and we're not quite yet into the VC venture capital territory. Our revenues are not large enough, but we're basically taking a long-term view. We've got enough funds to cover the business for a couple of years, so we're in a lucky position. Revenue, whilst it's not as much as cost at the moment, is growing every month, which is good. So we can see the lines kind of moving in the right direction, which is good. We're a very lean business with the development in India, and we're lean on sales and marketing, all online, so that we feel like we're in a good position, and it takes time. We're talking to VCs, and as we grow revenue, they're becoming more and more receptive.
When do you anticipate, without outside investment, that you will break even?
Good point. Yeah, it's a very good question. Not for a year, at least, but hopefully within the next 2 years, for obvious reasons, because we need that's our internal funds for about 2 years. So we feel that our revenues are currently growing, like I said, 2 to 3 clients a month. The clients at the moment are about 20 to 30 people.
A little bit smaller.
A little
than
bit
your
small.
optimal.
Exactly. What we want to get to, and our price is a little low at the moment. We're pricing right now at about $7 to $8 a user a month, which is very, very cheap. We can definitely go up to $15 a month and still be very cheap. I mean, NetSuite, Dell Tech, Microsoft Dynamics, they're all $50, $75, $100 a month, with the implementation and such. So we're still completely disruptive. But once we get to the point where we can be onboarding 2 to 3 clients of 50 to 100 people, then our revenue is growing, a few $1,000s a month. Our goal is to grow 10% every month, which is 2 to 3 times a year, 2 times a year, steadily. And with that, we'll break even within 2 years.
Can you be successful without outside investment?
Exactly, that's the point. We've got 2 years coverage, so we can. The difference for us is not about developing the product, not about proving the idea. The idea for us is that we can break even and go slow, essentially, by being limited on our sales and marketing investment without outside investment, but self-sustaining. But with outside investment, we want to go faster. That's the difference.
Okay.
But not yet. We haven't proven the model. I'll be honest with anybody investing in the business. We don't have the volume yet to prove the model. So we need to have a greater volume. We need to have sales that we know exactly how it works. We're measuring it. We're using our own app for sales, all the way from the lead, all the way to closing the business, and we're starting to measure it. But we still haven't yet worked out a model that's scalable enough.
Okay. Now, if you do get outside investment, anybody who's looking for outside investment, one of the major things that we talk about is how will the investor make money?
Yes.
Okay, because those who are naive about institutional investment think a good idea is sufficient for somebody to write them a check. But in truth, investors are looking to make money.
Yes.
How, if I gave you $3 million today,
Yeah.
wrote you that check, how would I make money?
Yeah, it's a very good question. The good news is we're in a very hot space. So we sell software to businesses that runs over the internet from the cloud. They call it enterprise SaaS software or B2B software. That's a very hot space. The market is huge. Gartner predicted originally it would be from 20 to 150 billion by 2020. I think they brought that back to 2017. So it's growing. All businesses, small and large, are looking seriously at cloud-based investments. What that means for us, because obviously we're not going to have that larger market, but what that means for us is as we get traction and prove ourselves, we've got a somewhat unique offering. We've got a new, modern, cloud-based software that's very broad. It does the whole of the business end to end. And that's something that not many people have. There's lots of products that do one thing, and there's these old products that you talk about, like timeslips.com and so on, which are 20 years old. We're new and we do a lot. So we feel that we will be a natural acquisition target. Our goal is to be acquired by a consumer tech company who wants to break into enterprise. But second best, which is fine, would be to be acquired by another business, enterprise cloud company or an on-premise company.
That would add you to their
add us to
their stable of products.
Yeah, we're looking for someone to look for the technology and the people as well as the client base, not just the client base acquisition. But we do feel that we have something unique and that people will want that.
Here's a question that's been bothering me. How did you get started in this particular type of enterprise, this particular product, this particular market?
So I was an SAP consultant. So I worked with SAP for 25 years. I was in development, I was in consulting, I was running the business, running consulting firms as well. So I know how it works under the hood. I worked with Oracle, I worked with Microsoft, but mostly with SAP. So there's a term called ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning, which is kind of the general term given to this end-to-end software. So I know those things, frankly I know them cold. I know exactly how everything works within those tools. What I found was in all three cases, they couldn't scale down to small businesses. They're trying, it's well publicized, they've had some successes, they've had some failures, they've done a lot of acquisitions, of course, tons, especially SAP and Oracle. And, they're great companies, but they can't take their old technology and make it acceptable to small firms. So I felt the only way to really address that was to start again. And that's what we did. We said, let's start with a clean sheet of paper. What we've built is really an ERP system, it's Enterprise Resource Planning. We've pitched it for consulting firms initially because it's easier. You have to start somewhere. And I've been a consultant for 20 years, so I understand the consulting business.
And who else is on your team?
So we have my co-founder, Amit, is in India. So he's running the offshore development. And then we've got head of sales is in New York. And then we've got a development team in India. And we've got marketing and we've got customer support and implementation.
If they're in New York and India, what are you doing here in New England?
I know, but this is where I live, so
Okay.
so this is where I am. Yeah, so we have a small office in New York and a big office in India, and everybody else works from home.
Okay, is there anything else you want to tell me about it? About the company, about the product?
I hadn't thought of that question. So it's an exciting field. I love what I do. I love the work I do. I love solving customer problems. The larger companies that we deal with have unique problems which we're extremely good at solving. And just as I did with SAP, where I was fixing it to fit people's problems, I find that we're very capable of doing that. We're very agile. What we've managed to do, and it's challenging, is to take cloud software over the internet that we support, that we manage, and tweak it for a customer's unique requirements. And that doesn't mean we customize the software for that customer. It means we build their features back into the product. So every customer we implement, the product gets richer every time. Their knowledge, whether it's enhancements, whether it's the way it's set up, that goes back into the product. It's a volume game. So as we grow, it gets easier and easier. And there are people ahead of us. So, there are other companies that are more established, obviously. But it's hard to solve this problem of providing end-to-end software. And a lot of people have very old technology to do it. We've got new technology that does it.